Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 12th episode of Fullicide Live. Holy hell, we've made a dozen donuts worth of these episodes. Or, well, we will by the end of this episode. Technically, this one isn't made yet. It could still go up in flames. I'm Fullicide SD. Welcome to the episode. Today, we're reviewing the series finale and just kind of the series overall of Breaking Bad. The wonderful TV series is now at a close. There are no more episodes. Only tears to be had. But hey, we're here to do a review, and we're going to be doing a review with a very special friend of mine, a man named Marc, also known as Molotov Penguin in the gaming industry. And he's here with his wonderful opinions, his diverse opinions, and his very unique perspective on really looking at TV shows. So we're just going to go ahead and introduce him. So, going to unmute Marc now and move Skype out of the way. Marc, go ahead and introduce yourself.
How's it going? I'm Marc. As Scott said, Molotov Penguin in the gaming world, or on Twitch, which I've been on Scott's forums before, chats before, Crams Trevor. Scott said, so excited to be here. Happy to talk about a great show, and hopefully it goes well today.
Yeah, hopefully it does. Last night I almost accidentally gave away some Skype contacts, except for the fact that I have no viewers, so it doesn't really matter. Anyways, so, Breaking Bad. Marc, do you want to kick this one off, or should I?
I'm going to let you have at it. You seem to steer me in the right directions without my brain just imploding, so have at it.
What is there to say? I have kept up with Breaking Bad up to the most recent half of Season 5 with Netflix. I've watched every episode on Netflix up until this last half of Season 5. And then I obviously concluded on TV, and I didn't know what to think going into the 5th season. Gus was gone, and he was really the pinnacle of the drug ring bad guy industry, and even with where things were kind of going with Season 5, there was a bit in line, and it was only a small moment that was in line with where it could have gone. My thoughts was, well, maybe we'll look at a very foreign drug lord, not even in the Americas. We're talking like in Europe, and with the German man at the beginning. Oh, we should make this clear to any viewers who might actually be here for some reason and not showing up in the viewer count. This is a spoiler cast, so if you haven't watched Season 5 at all or any of Breaking Bad, watch out. We're going to be doing the score here in a brief moment to alleviate, for archive viewers who haven't seen the show, who do want to know the score, to alleviate any tension about seeing any spoilers. So there will be this one brief spoiler from the very beginning of Season 5, which I will talk about, and then Marc will mention his kind of feelings going into Season 5, and then we'll bring up the score again to alleviate for archive viewers. Anyways, so at the very introduction of Season 5, there was a German man who seemed to be working in a sort of mini-mall, or a mall, per se.
That's right.
It really led me to believe, all right, there's going to be a foreign power that starts weighing on Walt and Jesse, and obviously everyone from the Albuquerque scene. How they would do that would be very interesting. I had a lot of faith, really, in Vince Gilligan and all of the writers who actually played a huge part in making every episode really, in and of themselves, fantastic. Or at least most of them. There were some, and we'll get to that, there were some. But, yeah, so that was really my feelings going into Season 5, but what we're seeing here on the stream itself is a picture of a very rugged Walt, and again, this was from the very beginning of Season 5. If you watched 5 minutes of the first episode, you couldn't miss this. And he's 52 in this scene, and he was clearly trampled and just worn into the ground, and it created this idea of want and revenge. And I'm just gonna go ahead and turn you down a little, Marc. There's definitely a fan or something in the background that's causing some havoc. So is that better? Is that? I know you're watching the stream. Is that actually better?
Yeah, I
All
was
right.
just on the Fullicide page and not much was happening there. I just logged into Justin.tv and now I can see everything just fine.
On the Fullicide page, when Justin TV is on the page, you actually have to press play.
Oh,
Yeah.
touche.
Yeah,
Sorry,
I
guys,
thought it
I'm a
was
bit of a
I
newbie.
thought it was a technical issue when I first started. I was like, is this what's broken? But you actually
Sorry, that's
have to press play. So, anyways, all technical concerns aside, we're here to talk
yeah.
about Breaking Bad. So, Mark, if you want to actually continue with your
Oh,
kind of thoughts before we move into the score, and then actually start talking about spoilers.
yeah, it's funny that you mentioned, that German guy in the airport. I completely forgot about that situation. Uh, and now I'm just trying to wrap my brain around what exactly that was. But despite that, you know, the entire series as a whole is great. We've discussed this before that in TV today, there's not a whole lot of linearity to television shows. It feels like a lot of shows they seem to have like a main plot line, and then every episode or so, there's a bunch of just mini stories that go on. And at least in my perspective, it just gets kind of redundant. A lot of these problems they circulate around the same kind of formula, and Breaking Bad was just one of those shows that just literally like kept me standing up, yelling at the TV episode after episode, and kept you guessing a little bit. All the cliffhangers were really decent, for lack of better words. There wasn't a whole lot of easy predictability, even towards the end, between like the second to last episode and the very last episode. The series finale, excuse me, still had a lot of uh, surprises with me, which I thought was weird. We'll talk about that later on when we get into possibly the spoilers. But it was just a great series. I hope Vince Gilligan and uh,
I hope he does a
whoever
movie.
is, yeah,
I hope he does a movie. I mean, it's great, I think TV is really in its prime, and that's something I will note in the score when we get to the score here in just a second. But I hope he does a movie. I would like to see what he can do with film, and then make a return to TV. Kind of just rack his brain with something else before
right.
really moving into another show, because I feel like there needs to at least be a break after something like this. And on the same in the same lines of linearity, there are shows that do linear. And I just got my Battlefield 4 beta access, and I know what I'm doing immediately after this. Sorry. And shows like Prison Break, they've done linearity. It worked for so
Mhm.
long. And one of the things I will comment on, I'll comment further on later within the review, is about ending almost every episode on a cliffhanger. Shows it brought, I feel like, Breaking or Prison Break, really it kind of brought the show down, always ending on that cliffhanger. But Breaking Bad was actually fairly special in that they could almost end every episode on a cliffhanger, and it could still be done well, where I was still interested in not getting aggravated by it. But
Definitely.
yeah, let's go ahead and move into the score so we can just get to talking about the show and not worry about spoilers. So that is a black screen, and here is the score. So, Mark, let's high five each other. Let's see if we can actually execute this.
Wait, wait.
No, wait.
Sorry, I got a little ahead of yourself.
He's got it. All right, and no, you're
Oh, wait, you're
just
going this way?
yeah. I'm over here, and now you're over there,
Oh, you're
and
hyped up the screen. My bad.
see, I'm trying to just high five you, but this isn't gonna happen, and we're actually here for Breaking Bad. So, um, the show was excellent to a work of art. I think that is undeniable. I can't go as far as to call it a masterpiece. I think we have yet to see Vince Gilligan's masterwork. The way in which the show ended was done just right. I'm not going to sit here and tell you like my mind was blown, because it wasn't. It was a very intense final episode, and it was. It's still a good thing to have when a final episode is done just right. When it's not just blasé, or things are thrown at you that you really don't understand why they're there, and that happens in a lot of final episodes, or they simply just don't amount to the measure of which you expect for a final episode. I hate to use Fringe as an example, but Fringe was a great example where there was all this fantastic sci-fi work and all this build-up in the prior seasons, and the finale in the 5th season just didn't measure. And again, as I note, that is a huge pro to have, is the just right, done just right. Bryan Cranston and Aaron Paul, that's it. That's a pro in itself. They had such chemistry. Some people know this. Some people don't know this. That originally Aaron Paul was supposed to be killed off within the 1st season. I know Marc knows this.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know if an ad is coming up for anyone else. I'm going to wait to make sure anyone else who's getting an ad is skipping it. I just got an ad. But one of the most gripping dramas on television, period, ever. There likely will never be anything else like it. I probably will never get to say this for any other cast with valid reason, but meth. How many other shows can center almost entirely around meth and drive their characters with meth?
Yeah, like that was great. Is it's one of those scary type drug situations, and the creators were able to make this awesome show about character development around something so heinous as meth. That's just all goes together with great writing, great characters, great plot.
And on that note of characters, the meshing and the conflict between almost every single character within the series is unlike any really seen. It's unique in and of itself, and yet uses the same kind of character dramas and issues that you see in other shows, but it's such a different environment. You don't really see shows set in Albuquerque. Any shows that are really set on the West Coast are really centered within California, Las Vegas, LA. Albuquerque was such a beautiful location to choose. And even in a generation where TV is in its prime time, in its prime, not prime time, because everything's in prime time, in its prime, I really do personally believe that TV is in its prime right now. I believe it's doing better than cinema, really, by displaying well-done characters and just the way in which they can flush out events over a longer period of time, making them much less muddled by comparison to cinema. And you have shows like Game of Thrones and many others, especially HBO-produced shows, that can be taking the spotlight, and Breaking Bad is right there at the top. It might be number one. Seriously. So, to most, the show's plot twists and rides in ways that are unpredicted and yet stay grounded to reality. There's really no other way to say it, I feel. When I was writing that, it's just there are the ever so few who I've met who say, yeah, they really see it coming. And personally, there are things I did see coming within the show, but still, there are just concepts and ideas and twists that come out of left field, and that is what makes it wonderful. It's great writing. And the only neutral I could really note was most episodes are left on cliffhangers. I mentioned this before. This is a tactic many shows use, but can often be daunting to viewers, especially for those who cannot keep up with every episode. So if last show was left on a cliffhanger, but you know that you won't be able to watch the upcoming episode and you don't have a DVR, that sucks, because either you have this gap or you have to wait until it comes out on DVD or on Netflix, and, well, that's a bit painful. And the only con I could really note is there would often be episodes where, for all intents and purposes, nothing happens. One of the best episodes to note was Talahiji, the episode that ended right before a gun battle between the neo-Nazis, if that's how we're going to refer to them, or I would say Todd's uncle, that's going to be the best way to refer to it, and his gang, and Hank, and Gomi with Aaron under a car and Walt in a jeep. It just ended, and nothing technically happened in that episode. It was all setting up for another episode, and there were many episodes like that throughout the series. And again, these can just be elements that bring the series down for some people.
I think for some people, it can bring it down. I also think it also helps strengthen and diversify its audience. Like I'm thinking of the Fly episode. Honestly, it's one of my favorites. Not a lot was going on in that episode. It is pretty much Jesse and Walt stuck in their lab and just dialogue. But there are the audience members that movies especially come into play where it's just there's a lot of dialogue and you can leave saying, "Oh my God, that was amazing." But then there's other people too that leave it like really nothing happened. It goes both ways.
Obviously, this is mostly based upon my views, but for those who are new to the show, this is why I give a ranged score, an 8.5 to a 10.5, because as Mark knows, as Mark and I both demonstrate here, I can personally dislike something, not saying that I dislike the Fly episode. I love the Fly episode. But and the Fly episode was one of those episodes that just kind of set more tone to things. But it wasn't one of those episodes that, really just kind of was setting everything up, but nothing entirely happened. So if you couldn't watch next week's episode, you basically watched a whole episode that was just simply setting things up. And that's it.
You're just kind of like, that was it.
Exactly. Yeah. And where's the real fun in that? So,
right.
Just things to keep in mind for viewers and for anyone who really just would like to go into the show. But now it gets to be fun. We get to actually talk about spoilers. So, Mark, I'm going to let you kick off. I know I was just talking a lot with everything that had to do with the score, so I'm going to basically let you take over from here.
Oh, boy.
Pressure.
I almost don't want to spoil anything as of yet. Do you want to start
is there really
about
any other way to go into this? All right, I will kick it off. Obviously, you're not sure where you would like to go.
I'm not sure if you still want to start. Do you want to start off with the final right now and just kind of because I know we saved our thoughts of the final episode for this reason.
We did save the final episode, our thoughts on the final episode. For this cast, we did not talk to each other about the final episode. This will be the first time we actually have any interaction about that. I guess the episode, again, that I just really want to kick off with, and I guess the best way to just kind of talk about the series, is the final 4 episodes and where that all started. And again, that returns to Tajili, is where, again, that episode that set everything up for those final 4 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't love it. But again, this is why I don't do episode-to-episode reviews. And the reason I didn't love it, and let's go ahead and just kind of bring up a spoiler, if we will. Let's see. Oh. Okay, there we go. So.
Waiting. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know, it's on a slight delay for you, I'm sorry.
Go.
So, everything was leading up to this moment. I personally didn't like the episode simply because Tajili was the episode where it ended right before the gun battle, right before the episode known as Ozymandias, where Hank dies. Spoiler. Sorry, again, we warned you. And I didn't like it because there was an episode earlier in the series where Jesse lost his shit at the very end. He basically lost it, and the episode that followed that, nothing happened off of... things happened, but it wasn't what you expected. There was this huge build-up, and it just kind of trickled off.
It was just a lot of Hank trying to take down Walt, really, and I'm not sure if it was failed attempts or if it was just... Walt outsmarting him, but that's essentially what the final four episodes and all this picture here brings up to it is that uh,
And
execution.
and where this ties back into the first half of season 5 for me is the fall of who I felt was the primary protagonist to who becomes the primary protagonist for the last 4 episodes. And I had no idea this was coming, and this was mind blowing because who expected some jail trash to really take the place of Gus or who was the antagonist from season 2? What was his name? Or season 1? It was Tuco. Thank you. Tuco was involved in the drug ring. He had a purpose there, and so to me, Jack was just kind of an option for Walt, and an option that he used. And obviously he used him via Todd. And Todd, again, just one of those nonchalant characters who I didn't expect to play such a large role. Both were mind-blowing that they had such large roles. I liked Jack as a character. I liked the actor that portrayed him. Not as much Todd. I'm bringing up a picture of Todd.
What I liked about how they did bring back Jack and Todd is a lot of what this show did was kind of bring stories, characters, events back full circle. I mean, they plug in a ton of things from previous episodes and later episodes, and I'm not sure. I mean, this actually surprised me when I realized exactly who Jack was when Walt wanted to put together that. Call it that prison assault. I forget the exact number of
prison
people.
Assassination. It was about 10 or 5 or 10 or a dozen people, and that seemed to be his purpose. Obviously, Jack was just kind of lurking in the shadows after that. He still had some usefulness, and bringing him in to remove Jesse obviously had a purpose. They tied Todd into Lydia, and like I said, I just didn't see that coming full circle and how Jack suddenly took the spotlight. Jack and his group. Let's not mince things. It wasn't Jack who was really at the center. It was just
a group of
the
hillbillies or neo-Nazis, whatever you want to call them.
Jack's group, neo-Nazis, hillbillies, that really just kind of took center stage and just really served their purpose of what Ozymandias meant. Obviously, Ozymandias, we talked about this, is a poem about the fall of kings. Ozymandias being the title of episode. Let me pull that up.
14, season 5.
14. Thank you, Mark. And it's a poem about the fall of kings, and to me, that was the best episode by far. Still, far and away, even after Granite State, after Felina, after the conclusion.
It really showed, the fall of, both Walt and Hank.
and that again was shocking. Hank was such a pivotal character. Didn't really expect him to. The best way I know I put it,
the way he did.
The best way I know I said it was when a character dies. If you personally, my view on it is, if you hate it, then it went well, because if it like just it kind of made you sick watching them die, just like there was so much left for them. Why?
Straight disbelief.
Yeah, disbelief, and that's exactly what I felt in watching Hank get shot in the head.
Yeah, it was. To be honest, I knew it was coming.
You knew it was coming.
It was just the manner of how it went down, and
so it was rude.
Yeah, pretty much. And then you're just like, wow, like Hank was trying so hard, he finally caught Walt, and actually Walt didn't outsmart him. It was like there was just a blip in that system of cat and mouse between Walt and Hank, and all of a sudden things just went hair for both of them. Walt really didn't want it to happen. Clearly, Hank didn't want to die. So it was just like that was just a box of worms. I don't know. The whole the Jack situation.
It was all of this. It was a mudslide, is really what it was. It was everything coming down at once. It was Walt's world collapsing. His money was right there, and again, this was one of those things you could see coming, but there was just such disbelief in that it would all go so horribly wrong.
So fast.
Jesse being captured by Jack's group, also in that is instant, and there is just that kind of click that, like, oh well, he's either going to make him work for them, or they're going to kill him, or he's going to be like a slave or a partner or something. It's going to be weird
or something. Yeah.
Meat?
No, bait. Like,
well,
we're going to bait Jesse.
Somehow it would not have shocked me if they ate him. Jack was just so gruff for again, returning to protagonists for the series, and I actually should have snagged a picture of Gus for the presentation, but misplaced that one.
It seemed to go from, low level. I mean, that's what the hell series is about. These low level druggies that the Jesse and Walt were trying to deal with, trying to get their rise to the empire business, as Walt said. And you went from low level, higher, and also you had Gus, who was the guy. I believe Saul said he was doing it for 20 years, and then all of a sudden, like, Walt and Jesse, they do their own thing, and then all of a sudden you get this dirty hillbilly guy that then becomes the reigning king of the meth empire that Walt had built, and
Gus had such a long presence too.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
He was such
powerful.
He was such a powerful antagonist. And we've obviously been talking about antagonists for a long time, but this is really what's made the series, is who they've had to overcome. And again, to just see how it got also flipped on its head, and this is the man, and his nephew was really the one who tied it all in.
Yeah.
It's Todd just kind of, again, was that left field, the opioid psychopath, as Jesse put it.
Said, yeah.
We'll talk about him as a character in a moment, but again, just another one of those left field characters. He just had no purpose. He was there as the bug exterminator. He was actually an employee for bug exterminators, and then he was in, by all intents and purposes, he was technically in on the business, because what happened at the beginning of Season 5 was that Walt and Jesse were basically using the extermination business to move from house to house and cook.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, I'm going to go ahead and, I have my opinions about him, but I'm going to go ahead and let you give your opinions about Todd as a character.
Yeah, this is one of those things I know we did have a slight, I don't want to say disagreement on, but
it's all right to have disagreements.
I mean, I saw your point. Just Todd was, I don't want to say I liked him because he was obviously an evil character, but it was just, I loved how he came back, and just the way he acted about everything was just so weird. I think Jesse summed up quite nice. The opioid psychopath, that he was literally almost soulless. Like, I've never seen a character such as Todd's in movies or TV shows that, he's almost a sociopath. In the last couple episodes, you would see him beating the absolute crap out of Jesse, and then I think
giving him ice cream.
Yeah, and then
and then shoot his girlfriend in the head.
Well, and then before that, which was, I don't know which episode that was. That was the first part of Season 5. I believe, when they were stealing the methylamine from the train,
Yes,
and he shot the
that was the
kid.
first part of season 5, and he didn't hesitate. What happened was
Not at all.
the kid rode up on the dirt bike, and Todd just reached behind him and shot him. And
Right.
I don't believe it was just once. He shot him a few times.
I don't remember
I
if it
don't.
was
I don't.
once or
Yes.
two times.
This
But
is
regardless, he killed a kid on it was almost instinctual. Walt had said, and I think Mike did too. No witnesses. They're probably waiting for someone to drive by or someone from the train, but just that Todd pulled a gun and shot like an 11-year-old kid, just cold blood like that. That was powerful. Um, just as powerful as the moment when he shot, I believe her name was Andrea, Jesse's at one time girlfriend, where I pretty much just my jaw hit the floor for about 3 minutes solid, just in disbelief of what exactly had happened.
and this might be where we have disagreement because I understood how the character was acting, but it's possible that I didn't really enjoy the actor's portrayal. The actor for Todd being he's not actually in the full cast because he wasn't in that many episodes, but Jesse Plemons, I haven't seen him in anything else. He actually does have other works here. Flutter, Breaking Bad, The Missionary, The Master, Bent, another TV show. He was in Battleship. Yeah, he was in Battleship, and I did see Battleship.
Trying to find
But
Todd.
I didn't love his portrayal of Todd as an actor. It was I didn't feel him as a psychopath per se. I just felt him as too blank, and I know that's how the character was supposed to be portrayed. But again, there was just kind of like nothing there. Even when Walter killed everyone, just everyone was dead basically at the end. And Todd was one of the only one who was not shot. And the way in which he delivered the line, "Mr. White," I just wasn't sold. There was no anger. It was just blank. There was nothing.
I feel like that was how his character was, though. Like he was like just a parasite.
Then
Just
then perhaps my qualm is actually with Todd himself, the character, because I don't feel like a parasite is blank. I feel like a parasite is malicious in nature and is happy with its nature, and is happy to just suck and feed and be almost evil. I'm not really going to say there are evil things because, a parasite just does that to live.
Right.
But it's happy in the way in which it lives. So I don't think a spider feels remorse when it eats another bug, but it's not just going to be blank about it. It's going to be ravenous is the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
And I guess I saw Todd as neither of those. Not to describe him in the way of a germ, a bug, or even an animal, but it just lacked that.
Lacked any true direction.
It's not a matter of direction. And after we conclude with Todd here, we're actually going to flip to a break. Saw another ad pop up. I just want to make sure that everything is going fine. Basically, we normally don't operate on this channel. We operate on the Twitch channel for gaming purposes, but we're here for TV shows and movies. And yeah, so to really just kind of wrap up Todd before we start talking about the final episodes. For me, I'm not going to make him a no, because this is a personal thing.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure there's very few people who actually say Todd sucked. But I know there are a lot of people who love Todd. The Todd-Lydia connection, we'll get to more of that after the break. But yeah, that's it for me. Did you have anything more about Todd?
As I'm looking at him, it was just one of those things that, earlier, it's funny how it came around full circle. You saw him as Walt's somewhat Padawan after Jesse quit the business and they were doing the house-to-house fumigation and cooking. And I brushed him off. I think a lot of people did. And then also when he came back around for this last part of 5, and really blended everything together and everything that was evil. And ultimately, I think he actually had to do with, well, not him personally, but with bringing him back as well as those other parts of the story.
Oh, crap.
Bringing back.
Whoops.
You lost me there.
Yeah.
Bringing back Walter back from the Heisenberg state of mind down to, up to or down to, whatever you want to call it, to Walter White. I think he had a big part in that. It wasn't just Walt and his character and his doings. There was a lot of outside influence, and I think Todd helped influence that. I'm not saying Todd's a great character. He's probably one of my most looked over characters.
Granted, yes. I feel, him being looked over was not a bad thing. I actually wouldn't have had these criticisms until he actually entered the spotlight. This isn't to say that Todd, again, was the main protagonist. It was really just the whole group between Todd, Jack, and the rest of the idiots. But it's just...
Lemmings.
With him being more in the spotlight and just trying to groom himself for Lydia's attention and just being there again, he just lacked emotion. He lacked what it is that makes a real person. Now, this isn't to say that there aren't real people like this. There are. It's just you normally don't see them portrayed in characters on TV. And perhaps that's one of the things I don't like, because some people want this drive for more realistic characters, and that's the thing. Most people, their lives don't deserve a TV show, and that sounds like a harsh thing to say, but they're uneventful, and people are just kind of, at least by my count, a majority of people are rather content with just the way they are and not being eventful or emotional or dramatic. And again, that's everything that Todd really lacked. No drama, no emotion, no nothing. And
it was just
sure to a lot of people, that kind of empty shell or vessel or whatever you really would like to refer to him as was great. To me, it wasn't. So that really concludes our conversation on Todd and Jack and the roles they'll really play with the final episodes and our discussion of the final episodes. But we're also going to be talking about Jesse and Walt and Skylar and the family and, again, the roles that they really play. So we'll be back, and there's going to be no music on this break. We're just going to kind of talk about ideas and where we're going with them in the next portion of the show. So please bear with us. We'll be back.